It's Monday, April 2-3. This is I'm Scott.
I'm Rim.
Geeknights time.
And the show is on.
I don't know what the fuck to title this show.
Principled idealism versus pragmatic reality.
Sleepy time.
The show.
Let's do this.
Usually you're the one yelling at me saying, the opener's way too long.
It would have been the right length if you didn't make the title so long.
As opposed to nothing.
Nothing would have been very short. The shortest, in fact. None shorter.
So I did, kind of
None more short.
Now, we've already done the book club show, and I don't really want to do a separate review of the movie, but I did see the Hunger Games movie, and it was a solid B flick.
All right.
It's pretty good. About as good as the book.
I rewatched The Lord of the Rings, which I probably hadn't seen in its entirety since the theater.
Wait, so all three?
Believe it or not,
12 hours?
Yeah. Believe it or not, was in 2003 was the last one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's some good shit, yo. Like the best.
It's pretty good.
It comes to you at the turn of the tide.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, that's right. I was like, oh, right, this. Yeah.
To this day, my whole life, I have said, anytime something comes anywhere, I usually say, at the turn of the tide, even before those movies. It's just...
On the dawn of the fifth day, look to the east. No return.
What's taters?
Yeah, no. Okay.
Nah?
No.
I think I say that about as often as I say turn of the tide, though I did not say it until the movies, to be fair.
Anyway.
Got a news?
All right, let's just jump to news.
Captain Monday?
So Intel came out with some new chips, the potato variety.
Yep, not the...
very salty.
Not the potato variety.
No, not
also, not the crazy... I don't know, the rumor sites up until the announcement were doing the usual, this is going to be like the
No, they weren't.
Yeah, I saw a lot of crazy... People were talking about crazy performance
All
bullshit.
the non-crazy sites were saying the same thing, and then in the reviews, now that they actually have it, they're pretty much saying the same thing. And this is what went down, right? So they had Sandy Bridge, and now the new one is Ivy Bridge. So do not buy Sandy Bridge right now, otherwise you are dumb.
Yep, and as of this morning when I looked at Newegg, they cost about the same.
Well, yeah, that's pretty much how it goes.
Yeah.
So basically, here's the deal. It's 22 nanometer instead of 32 nanometer, so it's way smaller and way more energy efficient. So if you got like a laptop or a netbook or something, hot shit, that battery is going to be lasting way longer and going way faster.
I'm pretty much waiting on buying a new laptop until there's a new Lenovo that uses these things.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like, how much faster is it than the Sandy Bridge? Not that much faster. I mean, it's quad core. It's
the
like,
thing is,
it's like 15%
I just got to point out
faster, but it's not so much faster. Like, if you've got a Sandy Bridge, you should not upgrade it. You're just blowing your money.
Scott, I got a Core i7 920 from before they'd renumbered it.
Yep.
And it is yet to be the bottleneck on anything I've ever done, including HD video editing. My hard drives and my network.
I looked at some benchmarks that were comparing, like, video encoding and game playing.
Upgrading my video card has more effect than anything.
Yeah, and it showed like graphs like comparing the benchmark of the previous and the current i7, and the difference, it's like it's faster, but it's like a tiny bit faster. It's like it's not going to change your life. It's not worth $300.
Yeah, my i7 920 I think is going to last me another 2 years.
Yeah, I got a Core 2 Duo. I expect it to last me another year or two.
Yeah.
Right? And it's not even top of the line.
That might not suffice if you actually want to record the entirety of that stupid bike race in 1080p and then edit it.
It'll be fine.
You will see.
Anyway, but the other big thing about this is the integrated Intel GPU that's in there is significantly better.
Really?
Now,
I heard it was marginally better.
Well, okay. It's still, here's the thing. It's still shit. It's an Intel integrated GPU. It's still shit. But it is significantly better than the 3000. So it's like before you had sort of like this sort of runny, almost diarrhea, and now you've got like a consistent, normal, healthy piece of poo.
Well, the thing is, I need that healthy poo.
But it's still poo.
Because for laptops, like I ran into a problem at our conventions. I'm gonna do a Linux like straight up install on my old laptop now. Because that laptop's near an end of life anyway.
The new Ubuntu is apparently really good.
Yeah, Conrad, I saw his tweet about it, so that's what I'm going to put on there, just to see.
1204.
It can
the
still
server's
play
really good too.
most HD videos, but if I encode an HD video, that has a high maximum bit rate and a 2-pass VBR. PCs play it fine. That laptop cannot play it.
Maybe it has to do with like the size of the something like this. You know, if the bit rate is high, then at a point in the video, if the bit rate is variable where there are lots of bits, maybe it's greater than like a certain spot in the memory can't hold all the bits for the frame
at least
once.
I did a little bit of performance profiling,
Or,
and
maybe the memory isn't fast enough and it can't push.
So
all
here's
those
the thing:
bits.
straight up, when I play an HD video, like a modern one, like get an MKV from like a current Blu-ray release of something on the Pirate Bay, it maxes out the CPU and it stutters every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's just the fact that it's like a Centrino, because I bought that laptop when I still worked at the hospital.
My i3 played, my i3 HTPC played Lord of the Rings
Scott,
Blu-ray rips just fine.
I think I bought that laptop in 2005.
All right. That's not too bad.
Might have been 2006, maybe 7 at the latest. I know I drove to that FedEx after driving home.
That stupid goddamn play.
Oh my God.
Anyway.
Yeah. From Beacon.
But yeah, basically, apparently, according to all these articles, Intel has like a tick-tock strategy, right? So it's like tick is like, for one generation of CPUs, they'll be like little update, like tick. And then the next generation, tock, like big update. They're calling this generation tick plus. So it's like, it's a small update, but plus.
Wait a minute. Intel, so you're doing... So there's a thing I don't like about the technology industry, that they seem to change the numbering of various products semi-arbitrarily to make it as impossible as possibly possible to understand whether or not something is better than something else without
because
going to a
if it was
benchmark site.
if there was just clear numbering of what's
if
better
you could just be
than
like,
what,
this Intel is better and
right?
costs
Because
X more.
let's pretend I was a CPU company, right? And the first CPU I ever made was the 1. And the next one I made was the 2. And then the next one I made was actually 2 times better than the 2. So instead of calling it the 3, I called it the 4, right? And actually the numbering was pretty equivalent to how much better it was.
That's fine.
So if something was 100 times as powerful as the 1, I'd call it the 100, right? And I called all my products this, the Scott 100, the Scott 200. You would look at the prices and you would look at the numbers, and with math that even dumb people could do, you could be like, that is the one to buy, and that is the only one that would sell.
So instead, I'll release a GTS 2700X and a GT 2750, and they cost about the same.
And how do you know which one to buy?
Well, you go to Tom's Hardware and look at benchmarks and guess.
Right, but the thing is, it comes down to like your chip factory. Not all the chips come out as good.
I know.
Oh, I made this chip, and I got to get my yields up.
But I have
right?
no problem with binning. That is a natural part of
right. So here's the thing.
manufacturing.
Okay, so I manufacture all these chips. Let's just say, for the sake of whatever, half of them come out perfect, and half of them there's one part that's busted, but they still work. There's just a feature that won't work. So now I've got to sell all of these chips to make maximum money. I'm not just going to throw half of them away. That would be stupid. So now, how do I sell that other half? And all right, so I could just say, okay, how much is that feature worth in money and performance-wise, and give it a different number accordingly, so it's sort of honest. Or I could sort of jigger the numbering so you're not quite sure, and then all these sites are arguing over the need for that feature that's disabled on those GTQs.
Yeah, and then benchmarks don't even help you
Right.
because you have to have a custom benchmark for that.
Exactly, and then suddenly I'm selling both of these at the same price, even when I should be
Oh wait,
selling
Scott, I should have clarified.
50% of them
Give
for a
me
lower
a
price.
non-profiteering evil bullshit reason to do this. Yeah. But this annoys me in general. But Intel had a simple, like TikTok, Tick Plus. Next, we're going to have Tick GX.
Well, it's going to be clock with double plus.
We're going to have Talk 5000 and then Tick 5050.
Right, but basically that's their strategy. Is one generation is going to be a small update, the next one's a big update. Small update, big update. So, I got a Core 2 Duo. It still works really well. I have no problems whatsoever with my computer.
I got a Core i7 920. I've never maxed it out doing anything.
Right, but you know what? When that talk hits in about a year or two, I'm probably going to get, I'll just replace the motherboard, the CPU, the memory, and the video card.
Yep.
And I'll get, the maximum talk with, probably by that
Scott,
time.
No, you're going to get the second best talk.
Oh, well, yeah, I'm not going to buy the stupid $1,000 Extreme Edition. That doesn't count.
You're going to get the $350
Do you
Intel.
believe they even sell those? Like, you go on Newegg, there are people who buy those. The $1,000 CPU that's like a 1% faster than the
and will be commodity in
$300 one.
It'll be commodity in like a week.
The $300 one's the best one. That's the one you should get.
Yeah,
But
maybe. I'm going to wait. I think I'm going to skip this tick. I'm going to skip the
Obviously.
next talk and
Well,
the following talk
That's what you should get, definitely.
because my 920 is going strong.
But by that time, I'll probably be getting like 16 gigs of RAM and a who knows what video card.
I've got 12 gigs now, Scott.
NVIDIA hoodly
Scott, I've got 12 gigs of RAM now.
I got 4.
Wow.
That's all I need. It's good.
See, laptop-wise, remember, I bought my laptop. I spent like $3,000 on that thing because that was before there were netbooks, and I bought an ultra portable that was, back in that day, ultra portable meant it performs as well as a gigantic laptop and is tiny.
Yep.
Now you don't have to
No,
worry
they
about...
call that Ultrabook now.
Yeah, but I paid a premium for that thing, and it lasted a long time, but it is at end of life. I have to buy a laptop. It cannot work anymore, which I'm sad. I wanted to hold out longer, but at the same time, this laptop lasted forever.
Yeah, I mean,
relative to what I paid for.
I mean, I bought mine a little bit before yours, and I upgraded it a little bit before you did.
Yep,
So
well,
our
I bought-
laptops lasted about the same time.
Yeah, I bought literally the next generation of the same laptop.
Well, the next generation of the laptop I have now is already available, so you're going to get 2 generations ahead.
Yeah,
if
but
you
that's
wait
fine.
for like the X, who knows what. I had
Yeah.
the X220 at work. It's pretty great.
Yeah, I'm gonna get the next X220, whatever's next.
Well, it'll probably be X221 or X300.
2250,
They're
XTX,
already, the thing is, they already
DX.
had X300, right? X300 is the bigger one. So it's like they had to make like the X230 or the X221 or who knows what.
I don't know. I'll do my research when the time comes.
It'll probably be X221, which will probably be exactly the same as X220, just with the newer Intel chips in
I
it.
think early fall
Which
is
would
the
be a great fucking computer.
early fall is the longest I can wait because I can't. Right now, if we show videos at cons, we're relying on your laptop until I get a new one,
That's fine.
which is fine, but it reduces our redundancy.
It does. Anyway, do you have any news?
I do. So, not a lot of people have been talking about this compared to how many people I thought would be talking about it. But basically, the story here is that Larry Page and
The
Eric
Google
Schmidt
guy. The other
and
Google guy.
James Cameron, Titanic guy,
The movie director.
yes,
Okay.
Ross Perot's son.
The Ross Perot's son.
And
okay.
the guy who is the Mars mission manager for NASA,
Okay.
and the guy who does the X Prize, and some other people have all gotten
Okay.
together. So basically,
That's a wild bunch.
a
of
bunch
rich
of
dudes.
billionaires,
Rich white guys.
and multimillionaires.
Are any of them not men?
No,
Are any of them not white?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I might be wrong
saying.
on that last part. Who have gotten together and said, you know what? We are going to fund a robotic mission to capture and mine a fucking asteroid in space.
That's pretty badass.
Now-
but why? What kind of things do they think are on the asteroid?
Okay, well,
that are
here's
worth
the thing.
mining?
Here's the thing. I was talking about this at work actually a lot because the space shuttle flyover today got canceled, so we were talking about space.
Yep.
And there's some former NASA at my company, so there's a lot of really cool engineering
Whoa.
opinions.
Okay.
Scott, you realize pretty much most of the successful people in the financial world now were engineers for either the military or NASA.
Yeah. Well, there's no money in doing that other stuff. Look at the NASA budget.
Yep. But basically,
You know where the money is? Working for the bank.
I will make an argument that skips all the specifics of this. One, tax dollars aren't funding it, so who cares?
I care.
Why?
Because some guy's stupid wasting his money.
So two,
He could be doing something better with it.
even if this is not
Like giving it to
profitable,
me.
if they capture these asteroids and they mine them and they do stuff with them and they don't get a return on their multi-billion-dollar investment, a direct one, I think it's still fine because in my opinion,
Well, we'll discover a lot of things in the process.
that's what I'm saying. Space travel, space exploration, all these things right now are not theoretical problems. The theoretical problems in space travel are so far beyond what we're looking at right now. I mean, theoretical questions are things like speed of light and wormholes. Space is an engineering problem. And history has shown that the only way to advance engineering in a field like this
Do it.
is to try something crazy and go for it.
Yep.
That is the only reason I want this to happen because
See, I gotta say something that people haven't said, right?
Yes.
Is people have been concentrating on the fact that, like, oh my god, it costs $2 bajillion to go get an asteroid, and it's only got like $500,000 worth of rocks.
Well,
in it,
here's one
right?
big point people forget. Though.
Even if you
Before, I want to
forget-
head you off. If you're doing stuff in space with it, that is so much cheaper than launching that much stuff into orbit to
That
then
is
use.
true, but here is another thing, right? Now those rocks ain't worth shit, but you wait for the day when there's no rocks left on Earth. those space rocks are going to be worth a fortune. Right?
Also,
so you'll be like in the year 3000, it'll be like, okay, it cost only, because we developed this technology a long time ago, it only costs $1 million to get a space rock. But because there's no rocks left on Earth, the space rock is worth $1 trillion.
Now, one way to look at this,
it's sort of like you're playing StarCraft and there's no little blue rocks left on the
So,
whole
Scott,
map. How much would you pay for more blue rocks? Yeah, so
here's me. Say we're making a moon base, right?
Yep.
How many resources would it cost us as humans on Earth to send enough stuff into space to maintain that thing forever and build it?
5 coffee and a tobacco.
Versus capturing asteroids, putting them in an orbit of the moon, and manufacturing it all in space.
That's 6 doubloons.
Second, and this is the cool part, material science is, I think, the next big sort of like fundamental, other than
it's already pretty big.
No, I mean, other than augmented reality, I think the other thing that's going to...
That's already sort of done already, too.
What do you mean done already?
As
you don't even know what I'm saying.
We got that shit.
Barely.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that augmented reality, as it becomes mainstream and as the sort of, like, as this accelerated rate of advancement reaches this point where it is, it starts, sort of like combinatorial complexity. When we get to that point with augmented reality, I think it's going to change society in crazy fundamental ways. I think material
At least the
science...
society of our people who have access to it, the society of all the other people is still going to fall even farther behind.
Yeah, that's
creating
a
greater cultural divergence and such.
That's a separate problem I wasn't worrying about now.
That's the number one problem we have that we encounter in our everyday lives.
The second part, though, is I think advances in like fundamental material science research are going to revolutionize society just as much.
They already have, and will continue to do so.
I think that they already have of the last decade will have nothing on like the few years after we start manufacturing things in space.
Yeah,
because
you think we'll do stuff even better than like carbon fiber and aerogel?
I think carbon fiber and aerogel will be has-beens within a decade.
That's correct. What could we possibly make better than like carbon fiber?
What could science possibly do?
Nanotubes.
Better than the automatic horse carriage. What could science possibly do for me?
I can't even imagine.
So imagine this. Imagine a skyscraper that we just grow organically and is held up by like 1
We already
centimeter.
imagined that.
Yeah, we haven't built it yet.
Yeah, I have. In SimCity 2000, they built a whole screen full of them. You can see nothing but that. Until
So my point on all this is that if you manufacture stuff in space, because there isn't the pesky influence of gravity and atmosphere, you can do things that we can't do here. You could start to manufacture fundamentally new kinds of materials in really interesting ways.
Yes and no, right? Because like take for example, let's say you want to forge some items, right? Well, on the one hand, you don't have gravity, so it's really easy to lift a heavy thing to smash down on it, right? But on the other hand, there's no gravity to pull it down and do the smashing.
Scott, that's not the part I'm talking about.
Yeah, you need to make...
No, Scott, I'm talking about things like certain crystalline structures only form in zero-gravity environments. You can grow certain kinds of...
about growing.
Imagine growing just diamonds in space.
Also coating things, right? If you're like spraying stuff, you can spray it real even like.
Wow. I can't really express to you, but I'm sure the listeners might get it, how far I am overshooting your ideas in terms of what is possible.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, we'll build space diamond colonies, and you're like, we'll put that spray paint on real fucking good.
That's right. You can get like a centrifuge to spin, so perfect spinning.
Anyway, summarize my point. We did a show on this before. Manned space research is not useful right now. Stuff like this is awesome, and I fully support this endeavor, even if it is a complete failure.
Well, and someone else's money, but hey, I'd rather have them give me the money, so...
What are you going to do with it? Sit on a tropical island?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd rather have space mining.
I might have rockets on my tropical island.
Oh, will you?
They might land off the coast of my tropical island. I can go swim out and get them. That'd be fun. Imagine like you're watching a shuttle launch from your Florida Key Island, and then the booster lands off the little shore. You row in your rowboat. You go grab a piece.
What are you going to do with that?
Put it in my little museum. My tropical island.
But anyway, things of the day. I present to you a memoriam of one sea roach. I just love
Roach
things like
as
this.
in the bug, or Roach as in smoking some weed, or Roach as in a dude named Roach?
So this is in the same vein as the sort of infamous free cat meme, but much more tasteful. And also, I love this sort of thing. I just think it's clever and funny, and I hope the people who walked by got a little bit of a laugh. I think the moment that really makes it for me is when the guy pours out the Coke, like you would pour out
I
whiskey.
like when the guy throws the flower.
The tiny flower.
Yeah.
So what do you got for me?
So, one thing we always complain about is people
One thing.
at panels not knowing how to ask a question.
In fact, I believe we talked about how you should never let people ask questions at length at our How to Run a Panel
Right,
panel.
so here is Chronicle.com, which is the Chronicle of Higher Education. This guy wrote this article entitled How to Ask a Question by Peter Wood. He posted it on March 30th, 2012, so it's pretty recent. Allow me to read to you paragraph number 1. Last Wednesday, I attended a debate at St. Francis College in Brooklyn, at which 3 men engaged in a lively, literate, and deeply informed exchange. After they finished and the moderator opened the floor for questions, the usual thing happened. The questioners, by and large, had no questions. Instead, they offered up prolix piles of words that led nowhere in particular. Some sought to show off what they mistook as their own superior knowledge. Others scolded. A few got lost in their own labyrinths. The closest we came to a question was the j'accuse, rhetorical jab, more or less in the form, "Don't you agree that you're an ignorant buffoon?"
This guy's speaking my language.
He basically says, why has asking become so hard? And he wrote this great article that's pretty long-ish. It's about regular length, actually, about how people don't know how to fucking ask a question at a panel, lecture, it's debate, etc.
So ye out there, whoever impinge upon us for telling you should not accept questions, behold.
Well, this guy he's not doing that. He's basically telling people how to ask a question properly. He's saying no, he's talking to the question askers, not to the question takers.
But I would posit that will not have any effect. For the people who tend to ask those questions will not read.
No. But basically he completely agrees with us, and he has the right ideas pretty much straight down the line about how to ask a good question, et cetera, et cetera.
You get 1 punctuation mark and it can't be a semicolon.
Yep. And he also one of the great things he points out is here, I'll read it. If you are tempted to speak as the representative of some category, resist. As a native of Pittsburgh, I find your categorization of the open hearth Bessemer steel process historically uninformed and offensive. Accomplishes nothing. Were there any viable alternatives to the Bessemer steel process of the 1860s would suffice. Declarations that begin as a woman, as an African American, as a Christian, all carry the same instant discount in the audience. They claim a privileged form of knowledge that no one need grant you. Other people in the same category may have quite different views. Who appointed me to speak for Pittsburgh or you to speak for all womankind?
What if the lecture were about me and I said, as me, the person you were just speaking about directly.
That is the one exception to this rule. But the whole article is basically full of paragraphs, much like that one.
So I'm tempted to recall a moment long ago when we used to go to Otakon, and we were at the con feedback, and like 8 people in a row stood up and said, I've been coming to Otakon for 8 years. I've been coming to Otakon for 12 years. And everyone would applaud each time. And our friend Pete was in line to ask a question. And when he got up, he said, my name is Pete. I've been coming to Otakon for 400 years.
Yeah.
And
I
point out
exact
that
number. Was
a few people in the audience laughed, and most everyone else actually looked pretty pissed off. It was a proud moment.
It was good times.
But speaking of conventions, in the meta moment, the MoCCA Fest, the Museum of Comic and Cartoon Art,
which we've neglected to mention.
If you do not know, has a fest every year.
Except for every year when we've mentioned it.
We attended every year. It is one of my favorite things every year.
Are we going Saturday or Sunday?
Saturday, I think.
What time?
I don't know, all day.
All day. But the thing is, I always go as soon as it opens, and then you don't get there until like 1.
That's because I'm always laden back with a bunch of people and plans, and I eat, and
Yeah,
we'll see.
I'm not going to go till 1.
Okay, well, I'll get there opening. Thing is, this year I'm going to get a lot of video and do a nice montage video of the whole thing.
Well, tell me when you're actually going to be there, because then that way, like if you go at the opening, then I get there at 1, you'll be like at lunch. You know? But if I go there at the opening and you don't get there till later, I'm going to want to go eat lunch, and you just showed up.
If you're anywhere near New York City and you like comics and or cartoons, this is your jam.
Oh yeah,
This is great.
it's the
There's
place to
great
be.
stuff here.
And you
can
only
meet
have to
great
go for
people.
like you don't have to go for like the whole weekend.
3
Just-
hours. You can walk around the whole place.
Yeah, just show up, walk around to every table, and then leave.
It's like $15.
There's some really good panels if you really want to go to them, but
They have tiny rooms. It's not worth it. I've never gone to one.
but there's pretty awesome people though. Give it them.
Yes. But it is this weekend.
Oh shit.
Saturday, April 28th and Sunday, April 29th. So not too long after that, July 13th through 15th is Connecticon, that convention in Hartford that has everything from steampunk to anime to video games.
Too soon.
Yep. We run the panels department.
What day is it again?
July 13th,
Oh,
14th,
July.
15th.
Woo. Okay, it's more time than I thought. I think you said June. I was like, shit.
So I have started scheduling panels, workshops, and lectures. So if you want to submit an event, go to the website and submit it soon. The longer you wait, the shittier time slot you are likely to get.
And the web form is real shitty. We're sorry.
It'll get better next year.
Yeah, that's what we said last year.
It did get, well, it got worse, but that's because we went to a new system. But between last year and the year before, it got better. And between the year before and the year before that, it got 100,000, infinity% better.
I guess I just start working on the Connecticon.
I guess you should, Captain, head of all operations and logistics.
Maybe I
for
should.
panels, workshops, and lectures and guests.
Yeah, I mean, if I can get the tripods and I can guarantee that table's going to be there, pretty much everything else I can just do myself. That's pretty much all I got to do.
Yeah, Connecticon's fun. If you're friends with Dave Riley of Fast Karate fame, we've invited him to submit a panel. He said he might. Tell him to submit it. I guarantee he will fill rooms. All of you fans of him, tell him to come and I will hook him up.
Yeah.
But he has to give me a submission. I'm not just going to pay for him to come for nothing.
That's right.
What else?
Zenkaikon.
Zenkaikon.
When is it?
Is soon. You hear that delay there? That's me having to look at my
May
calendar.
11th and 12th, which I think is a Friday and a Saturday, but not a Sunday. That's
Yes.
Greater Philadelphia Expo Center, Oaks, Pennsylvania.
I think that's in or near King of Prussia. I forget. Zenkaikon is an anime con that is run by people we know. And actually, the other Scott is the head of panels and workshops at that convention.
Scott Johnson.
Yes, the other Scott, the one who likes politics.
Not me.
Yes. There is a third Scott Johnson and a fourth and a fifth.
There's a lot of Scott Johnson.
Yes. We will be at Zenkaikon doing a panel about both My Little Pony and Dude Bro in the same panel.
Great.
And I forget what else we're doing, but we're doing a bunch of stuff.
Mhm.
And if you were there, when we're not presenting, we're either going to be eating ridiculous food or playing German board games in the gaming area.
Both
So,
at the same time.
We actually ran into a lot of fans there last year, so feel free to bother us and say hi if you see us at the con. It's one of the few cons where we're actually kind of just chilling with downtime. We're not like in a hurry to run off and do crazy programming all over the
I don't know.
place.
Are we actually going to go on the Friday, though? I think we'll just go just Saturday.
I think we'll just be there all day Saturday.
Yeah, like, you know. The thing is, the day after is Mother's Day.
Yeah, well, the day after it, I got to fly to Istanbul, so.
My mom was like, hey, we're barbecue something. I'm like, how am I going to get from Pennsylvania
You could fly.
to Connecticut?
Yeah.
Where am I going to fly to?
I don't know. There's got to be an airport somewhere near Bridgeport.
Nope.
No?
Nope.
How about near New Haven?
Nope.
I'm pretty sure there's an airport near New Haven.
Yeah, it's a tiny kind of airport where, you know, you get little tiny Cessnas and shit.
I'm sure you can get a shitty little tiny Cessna from Philly.
That's just what I want to do. It's worth it. No.
why not?
No. Renting a car is a better idea. Anyway.
And I guess after all that is Otakon. We did submit panels, as we do every year.
If they accept our panels.
They accepted our panels every time. Every panel we'd ever submitted, every year since 2002 were accepted until they decided they hated us and kicked us off the staff. So
That's
we'll
right.
see.
If they accept the panels, we'll go.
I'm not sure if they kicked us off the staff because we resigned and they didn't respond. And then, like, months later, they cut off my access to the staff site. So I don't even know.
I don't know. I don't whatever.
Then no one ever, like, emailed us.
They did not communicate very well, which is the problem.
So I guess I don't know. But we submitted yet again. So I'll just say that if you want us to attend Otakon, we did submit a bunch of panels. You should tell Otakon you want us to be there. Maybe we'll be there. If they give us panels, we'll show up.
Mm-hmm.
And PAX Dev / PAX Prime is also coming. We will be at PAX Prime.
Labor Day weekend, which
for
is
sure.
the same weekend as Dragon Con, which we won't be going to.
Sorry, Dragon Con. If you moved, we'd go.
That's right. That's
But,
like Dragon Con is sort of like swords.
And I'm I think I'm going to go to PAX Dev. So if any of you are going to PAX Dev, let me know.
Maybe.
I think I'm going to go anyway. Maybe do a lecture. We'll see.
All right.
That's all up in the air still. So I guess Scott can introduce this since it was his idea for a show.
Oh, I actually should probably bring it up on my screen.
All right, well, I got it up here.
So here's the story, right? So Twitter Bootstrap. If you don't know, Twitter Bootstrap is this pretty awesome JavaScript framework library sort of thing, all right? And basically what it does is if you see a website, once you go to the Twitter Bootstrap website, and if you go to Twitter, the actual Twitter website, and you see what they look like, you'll know when a website is made with Twitter Bootstrap. It's like you can just tell that's a Bootstrap website just by looking at it, right? And it basically allows people who don't have a lot of front-end web development, HTML, CSS skills and JS skills, but still have enough skills to make a pretty good-looking website with good fonts and colors and buttons and and pop-ups and menus and navigation, without that don't look like complete shit, without a lot of skills. So it's a good thing. And there's a lot of JavaScript in it. So there was an issue, right? Let me explain the issue in detail. So in JavaScript, semicolons are optional, right? The JavaScript, parsers and compilers that are in the browsers can sort of figure out where the end of a statement is. So if you have a semicolon, they know that a statement has ended. But if you don't have one, they can sort of tell, and it doesn't matter. You can, it's optional.
Kind of like in Bash. You don't have to stick them in the ends of your statements, but you probably should.
Well, you can if you want to put multiple statements in the same line.
Which you probably shouldn't do.
Same thing in JavaScript, right? You can use a semicolon to put on the same line, but whatever. So the Bootstrap people, they sort of don't like the semicolon. Like they're anti-semicolon. They're like, hey, let's just do it one way consistently through the whole file, all our code, no semicolons. So there was a particular line in one of their, code things that did not have a semicolon. Because they didn't have a semicolon, right, their code did work. But if you minified the JavaScript using JSMin, a very popular JavaScript minifier, JavaScript minification, if you don't know, is when you squish the JavaScript real small so that it takes up less space so it downloads faster so that your web page loads faster. But
which actually can add up.
It can. It's very important. It's something you should definitely do. So, for example, I write some JavaScript. I have real variable names like, size of button. But then it would get changed to S, in that way it's shorter when the code actually
it makes
downloads.
it as small as it can be and still do the same thing.
Right. So when JSMin, when it minified this code, right, because there was no semicolon, the code actually broke when it was minified. So a huge internet debate broke out on GitHub because somebody submitted a thing that said, issue needs semicolon. And the guy was like, here,
I'll read it. Fat, the guy who closed the issue.
That's the Bootstrap guy.
Yep. Nope, that's a bug in JSMin. You probably should let Douglas Crockford know about it, though. Thanks.
Because Douglas Crockford is the JSMin guy, and Fat is the Bootstrap guy.
Yep. So he basically said the developer equivalent of, yeah, fuck you.
So Douglas Crockford, the JSMin guy, said, that is insanely stupid code. I am not going to dumb down JSMin for this case. And he also said TC39 is considering the use of bang, which is exclamation point, as an infix operator. The code will break in the future. Fix it now. Learn to use semicolons properly. Bang is not to be intended to be a statement separator. Semicolon is. So basically what happened here is the code broke when it was JSMined. The other guy said, that's JSMin's fault. My code is valid code. JSMin shouldn't break the code when it mins it. The JSMin guy said, your code is valid code, but JSMin, you write stupid code without semicolons. I'm not going to put a thing in JSMin to handle your stupid code when all you could do is type one character, the semicolon, and it would work. And also, in the next version, right, in TC39, right, your code won't even work anymore, right? It's only now your code works. It's not going to work in the future. It's not forwards, compatible. So, and, JSMin is forwards compatible. Screw you.
Now, 240-something comments later.
A lot of comments.
This gets...
huge internet war.
I think every kind of IT and CS guy made at least one comment, from... you guys are stupid picture of a lolcat to, every possible, the GNU type people were posting in here. Scott posted something.
Did you find my post?
I found your post.
Let's see. Here, let me read my post. Reason to use semicolons. Code will work properly and people will be able to get work done. Reason not to use semicolons. Aesthetics and ego. Are you adults or children? Question mark.
Don't be a JavaScript hipster. Use semicolons.
That's right.
Or I think my favorite one, oh, for fuck's sake, people. If using ugly semicolons and a few extra parentheses will guarantee current and future compatibility, then what is the problem?
That's right.
So this is an age-old argument that anyone who's dealt with software developers or open source projects or GNU Linux people, there's two camps on every issue.
This is not something that is new. This is an age-old thing that has many incarnations.
This is just a simple example of it.
This is just one example that is recent and big.
Camp number 1, technically correct and or right, and I say right in quotes because they have some sort of ideological reason to be right.
Yeah, someone has some sort of principle that they, stand by. Like, this is my coding principle, and I will follow it, even though if it isn't, technically necessary to follow
Like,
it.
for example, someone might say, you should never use ternary operators. I will never use them in my code, and my code, I have a thing
even
that
though they
interacts-
work.
Yep.
And they're a thing.
I will never support them. My thing, whatever it is, compiling code, maybe I wrote a custom compiler, will break if you use them, so fuck you.
Right, but yet someone finds an example. Hey, if we use a ternary operator here, obviously this example would never be true, but
If you think a ternary operator is the answer.
Yeah, no, there's a performance bonus to using the ternary operator here instead of an if statement, which is never going to be true because the compiler is smart enough to tell the same difference.
Well, maybe the thing the guy wrote is a shitty compiler.
Who knows? It's like, come on, dude, right?
But then the other camp is do stuff that works for the most people in the simplest way possible.
Yeah.
You know what? The people on the right side, the second half, they're pretty much right. That wins in the end.
Now, see, the thing is, this is open source, right? So you could just fork this and put your semicolons in, which people did.
But that causes
annoying
so much
because-
bullshit fracturing.
Because now I can't just, keep installing the latest version of Bootstrap. Now, every time I install or upgrade Bootstrap, I have to remember to go put the semicolon back and then minify it. And it basically just creates all this work. Or I have to follow this other version of Bootstrap. But what if that guy doesn't update quickly enough? And you just make a whole bunch of work for a whole bunch of people just because you won't push one button on your keyboard to type a semicolon.
Yep, principles in technology. Real technology, stuff that you actually want people to use and actually do use has to work before it's good, as opposed to being good before it works.
That's right. I'm not saying principles are not completely worthless, right? There are many principles where it's like, you should do this.
Well, here's an example.
Right? It's a should versus a must. The only must is your shit must always work. Right? If it doesn't work, if there is an instance, no matter what instance, where there is brokenness, then you need to fix that.
Here's an
even if
example.
that fixing goes against some principle.
If you do something that is technically 100% correct with, say, some version of HTML, and it turns out that most browsers do it wrong, and there is a technically incorrect way that every browser supports, you should be using the technically incorrect way.
That's right.
My job is basically to manage software now, and actually I run into this.
I have built this engine in this car according to these principles. The car doesn't start. Of course not, because of this bullshit, but I've done it the right way, and I won't change it. Well, your car's never going to go anywhere.
Yep,
but at least my car is right. All your driving cars are wrong.
I'm going to make a contentious point that a lot of open source equivalents of things and open source projects go nowhere because of this sort of bullshit.
Yes.
Because a lot of libraries for like Python have this problem. Like I'll find some Python library. I'm like, oh, I'll use this. It looks great. And it has some like stupid principled bullshit where I have to do all this wrapper code around it to make it work because it doesn't play nice with anything else. I just give up. I don't even bother.
And it's not just, computers you see this problem. You see this in all sorts of professions, various engineering things, right? It's like, oh, no, the plumber insists on using this particular thing, every
but
time.
But that thing's not available for a month. I guess you can't poop for a month.
Yeah, using some particular method of screwing or piping or who knows what, because that's a much, superior method to whatever it is that he's engineering. So he follows that method, but it doesn't actually work as well.
Now, there are times... No, we're talking about principles in an abstract sense. If you take a principled stand, on a functional issue. For example, if you build the building that way, it'll fall down if there's an earthquake.
Yeah, that's not what I mean by a principle, right?
That's a functional stand as well as a principled stand.
A principle is like, just some sort of like ideal thing that you follow that is like, your way. For example, let me try to think of some sort of principle. That
isn't just a code example.
Right, no no semicolons. For something else. But here's an example. Someone has a particular way they like to hold the joystick in Street Fighter, right? You got to put your hands just like this. And that's the right way to do it. Some guy comes around, he holds the joystick in a different way. Maybe he's got his hand backwards or who knows what the hell. Maybe he's holding it from the top instead of from the side or whatever. The other guy's like, you're holding the joystick the wrong way. But meanwhile, the dude kicks your ass perfect 2 out of 3 rounds. You don't even get to punch him once. Guess what? Winning matters more than how he holds a joystick, right? You have you think that that's the proper technique for holding a joystick. Well, the other guy beat you, so tough shit.
Yep.
In golf, there's a lot of debates over like using the belly putter, which is a legal thing to use, even though they might change that rule. But right now, it is a legal thing, even though other people, like Tiger Woods, like says, it's bullshit. You shouldn't be able to do that, but they can. It's like Tiger Woods has a principle. Belly putters are bullshit. Guy with the belly putter beat you. It's legal. Tough shit.
Snaking.
Exactly. Right? Same thing.
But especially here, it seems like ideals in the open source technology world specifically get in the way of progress more so than they need to. And it's always the exact same kind of crap. Like this discussion happens everywhere, every day, every big project. It's all over the place. It's endemic. And
it happens, what happens a lot? It happens a lot in like open source GUI design, right? Where, the GNOME 3 people are like, these are the principles by which we will, design our new GUI for GNOME 3.
But then, a designer like me will say, hey, if you put a button here, even though that's not your button standard, it's way more intuitive. They'll be like, nope, can't do it.
Yeah, it's like these are the rules that we put down, and we're going to follow those rules to the T in every single window and every dialogue and everything.
Here's
and
a more subtle example.
Everyone's like, GNOME 3 sucks. We want GNOME 2 back.
I designed I'm really big on semantic consistency. Like the semantics of an interface or of a software design have to be consistent. Like the same language is used everywhere. You can't call something an alert in one place and an event somewhere else if they're actually the same thing.
That's right.
You can't switch your verbs, that kind of stuff. And at the same time, some of the software I manage has legacy code. I'm not going to hold up a production release because some legacy code doesn't fit the new semantics if it's functional.
That's right.
I'll open a ticket to fix it later, but I'm not going to hold it up for my bullshit principles because the user's never going to see that. That's like I'm wanting people to change class names.
Yep.
It's the same thing. And I don't know what else we can say on this, really, other than that people, whenever you see an argument like this, figure out who's taking the principled non-functional stand and make fun of them. That's really all you can do, or beat them.
And also, if you catch yourself right being the guy who's making the stupid stand, like it's broken, and if you're the guy who says don't fix it, then you're wrong because the answer is always fix it. Right? We don't care, right? It's just fix it, make it work. Working is the most important thing, even if it the ugly working is better than the pretty broken. Because pretty broken may as well not even exist because it's broken. Look, I made the most beautiful screwdriver in the world. Does it screw screws? No, but doesn't it look great? Oh, what's that you got there? It looks like a rusty stick. It is, but watch it screw.
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music, Kat Lee for web design, and Brando K for the logos.
Be sure to visit our website at frontrowcrew.com for show notes, discussion, news, and more.
Remember, Geeknights is not 1, but 4 different shows. Sci-Tech Mondays, Gaming Tuesdays, Anime Comic Wednesdays, and Indiscriminate Thursdays.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.